Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. For our new and old subscribers, you're all welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make this blouse. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not yet
Guys, looking at
subscribed.
the style, you would need a basic bodies. So you decide which you want to cut first, either the tube side inside of it or the wrapped up in front. So let's start with the tube, right? So I have my basic bodies like this. So what I'm going to do now is to include my dart. If you don't know how to draft your basic bodies, do follow me. I'm going to be linking it up for you here and also in the description box. So this is our bust point, our chest line, the under bust, and this is the half length. So for the bust, on the bust point, I'm going to mark half of her bust pan and half of it like so. Then I'll go ahead and connect it like so. Then I'm going to be taking a dart of 1 inch on both sides like so, and I'll be connecting it to the bust pan. So when I'm done, I'm going to be doing what I call the under bust tightening, and so I will take her under bust measurement. So this is the under bust. So on the under bust, I'm going to mark a quarter of her under bust, her actual under bust measurement. So what I have here is not her under bust measurement. I just marked her bust point and her waistline, then I connected it. Now when I marked a quarter of the under bust is here. So now this difference that we have here, I'll go ahead and measure it. I have 1 inch. The difference is 1 inch. So I'm going to bring it back on this dart line on the under bust. Here on this side, which is the fuller side of the bust, which is the side panel, I will add 0.75 here and add 0.25 here. You can go ahead and just share that into two and add them, but I usually don't like doing that because this side has the fullest part of the under bust. So I'll just go ahead and connect like so with my French curve. I'll go ahead and connect. Then I'll do the same thing here and connect it to my bust point as well. So by the time you do that, I'll connect it to this point here, the regular affluence side. You connect to that line there. Now you've tightened that under bust. It's going to help to flatten her chest more, her bust area more, and also remove excesses on that under bust here. Now I'm going to add a shoulder dart here so that I can define the cups. So I'll measure what I have here. I have 5. So on that 5 inch, I'll mark half of 5, and then I'll take that on both sides. So just because I'm not going to be needing the upper side here, I'm going to take 2 inches instead of 1. Now the reason why I'm taking 2 inches on both sides is so that it tightens the cup side, the upper side of the cup, very well. So I'll go ahead and mark like so. I'll draw my lines like so to the bust point. So there's going to be a tightening here. If you wish or you feel like it's not going to tighten properly, because this is where our cup is going to be, somewhere around here. So what I'm going to do is to tighten it a lot more so that I don't have complaints about the cup not being properly tight. So I'm going to add like ½ inch on the fullest side of the bust here to tighten it properly. So I'll connect that side. I'll just go ahead and use my curve to connect that side like so. So you can see the bust is kind of defined. So now you're going to determine her neckline. So from here, which normally you would have, you decide how deep you want the neckline. So I'm just going to stick to 6 or 6.5. I'm very careful because she's a conservative person, so I do not want the neckline, like she doesn't want anything that reveals a lot. So let's just do 7 so that we get the sweetheart side properly. So I would mark 7 here, and I'll mark 7 like so. Then on this side, which is this line here with the center panel, I'll go ahead and mark around 6. I'll mark 6 here, or 5.5 here, so that it gives her a lot more coverage. So I'll just go ahead and trace off that sweetheart neck. You can go ahead and use your French curve, it's still fine, but sometimes the French curve at this point might not give you the shape you want, so you can still use the French curve, it doesn't matter. So now one thing I'm going to do to determine where to stop this one is to measure from here. I'll measure what I have here round this center panel. I'll measure it down to the hem, just so that I don't get one side longer than the other. So I have around 13.6. so I'll measure here as well, like so. Follow the curve like so. You just follow that curve all the way to here, which is 13.6 as well. So this is the point where this side ends, like so. So I'll just go ahead and connect it to just smoothing out on together with the shoulder, the armhole line, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and pay for my darts. Don't forget that darts are depth. Wherever you take these darts, you need to pay for them, right? So the first dart I'm going to be paying for is this one that I have here. So I'll measure what I have here. I have a total of 1.1, so I'll mark that 1.1 here, and I'll measure the darts that I have on this side. I have 2, so I'll pay back 2 on this line. Now I don't need to pay back these darts because this under bust tightening, because you remember it was an excess from what we have here that we took inside of here. So I'll just go ahead and connect this one like so. Then I'll go ahead and add my sewing allowance, which you can do much later when you're cutting. So I'm adding 2 inches sewing allowance, and then you add 1 inch again. Now this 1 inch is going to be the allowance you're going to use to join the middle panel and the side panel. If you wish, you can add that on this side when you're cutting your fabric, that's also fine. Now don't forget that there's a hole dart here, right? So I'm going to extend this line, this side like so. I'll extend it just so I pay for that dart, so that you don't get shortage on that side. So because don't forget, we are going to be adding a page sleeve to it there. So you measure the dart that you have here. We have 2 inches on this side. So, and there's a tightening here also, which I'm not going to be adding this 1/2 inch that I tightened, which now that I've elongated it is no longer 1/2 inch, is around 0.7. So you have to add that as well. So I'll mark that 2 inches here, then the 0.7 in front as well. So now we'll just go like this instead. Now our new shoulder armhole line is going to be here, because of that that allowance that we've added. So this is going to be our new armhole line instead of this line here, right? So by the time you add all your allowances, this dart here that you've added here, you're going to re-smooth out this curve that you have here. So I'll just go ahead and smooth it out like so to meet this new armhole line. So this line no longer remains the line that we'll be working with, right? So I'll just go ahead and connect this one like this. So I know that it's a little bit confusing, but just make sure you're paying for every dart, and you just get it. Once you understand, you can go back to watch again, and I'll also be in the comment section to answer your comments. So this is it about our front side. So I'm going to draft another basic bodies, then I'll show you how to do that, to do the surplice neck side or the wrap side in front of it, but the back is pretty much just straight. So let's do the wrap side. So I have my basic bodies here, right? So let me just use this one to draft the back so that we don't get any confusion. So for the back, you're basically not going to be needing anything from here, so because it's going to be joining with this side. So just like the tube as well, you're just going to mark your 4 inches. That's your dart. You mark 4 inches here and 4 inches here. Now instead of stopping the 4 inches on your bust line, you're extending it up because the back dart is longer than the front dart. So you just go ahead and connect this line, and I'm just going to be leaving a standard dart there, which is 1/2 inch on both sides. You do not have bust on the back, so you do not want to take any wild dart there. So I'll just do 1/2 inch on both sides, which is a total of 1 inch. So this is basically it. Then I will add 1 inch of that dart, then I'll connect it. You don't need to do any under bust or over bust tightening. So I'll add my sewing allowance, which is 2 inches like so, and 2 inches like so, and I'll connect. So my back is going to stop around here. If you like, you can make the back a little bit deeper because this side is going to join this side. So let me just make it a little bit deeper. So I think I'll just make it down like this and in a slanted form. So I'll just curve it according to how you want it. Don't forget, I've not added zip allowance. So my zip allowance will be from this center back here. I'll do that when I'm cutting my fabric. So this is it. Let me show you how to cut this. So this is the center front. You label it. So now I'm going to, this is my center back, center front, my side front here. I just labeled that, and this is my back. I've not added zip allowance, so I just wrote that here so that I can remember. Now this dart here, you can go ahead and cut it if you want a seam line there, but I'm just going to go ahead and sew that instead close, like just sew it as the standard regular dart. But if you like, you can cut this out and add 1 inch for joining allowance and go ahead and do that. So let's bring a fresh pattern paper to cut the wrap side. So on the fresh pattern paper, you want to fold it in half. You can see I folded it in half like so before drafting on one side, just so that whatever happens here will be transferred to this other side. And I drafted my basic bodies on it. So what I'm going to do is to add my allowances and my dart allowance. So on the bust point, I will mark that 4 inches that I have here and the 4 inches that I have here. So I'll just go ahead and connect this in a straight line. Then I mark 2 inches of that, spreading them 1 inch on both sides. Then I'm going to connect to my bust here like so, and I'll connect it like so, right? Then I'm going to come back and pay back that 2 inches of that here, and on this side I'll mark 2 inches sewing allowance. My dart does not extend to this side, so I'll now mark sewing allowance, which is 2 inches here, and I'll connect. Don't worry that the shape is looking a little bit weird, so you can see, don't worry about that. So when you do that, the next thing, now you open this like this. So when you draft your neckline, I'm going to draft my new neckline now. So what I have here, if you look, it's sort of wrapped. So these 4 inches that I have here, I'm going to bring it back on this side like so. Then I'll add 1 inch just to extend it properly like so. Now I'm going to mark the neckline depth. I already have 3 inches here, so I'll extend the neckline to my desired neckline. So I want to work with 6 inches or 6.5, so I'll mark 6.5 like so. Then I'll connect this line to that point, or let me just mark it to the side. So I'll just take out my sewing allowance plus 1 inch, which I have 3 here. Instead of having it here, I'll have it here. Let it go all the way. Then I connect to that neckline that we dropped here in a straight line like so, and I'll go ahead and connect to this shoulder line. Now for the shoulder, I do not want it to be this 3 inches, so I'll extend the shoulder a little more. So I want it to be 4.5, so I extend it plus 1.5 inches like so, right? Then I'll go ahead and connect to that 1.5 inches, or let me just do 1. Let it be 4 inches instead of 1.5. So I connect like this. Now by the time I cut this out, this can serve as our back pattern for the one shoulder on the back, except of course this 1 inch of that, that I put 1 inch on both sides. For the back side, you reduce on the that allowance, you reduce it by 1 inch so that it will be ½ inch on both sides on the back side. But like this is good for it to go as our back design. You're just going to cut here and add your zipper allowance on the center front, on the center back here. Then you add your zip allowance. If not, this is basically your back bodies. So now what I'm going to do is this side is going to gape because I've cut out a neck on the front. So I'm going to be transferring 1 dart from here to come back to this side, right? So I'll be adding a dart here so that I can make it nice and snug. So I'll just draw a line from my bust point to meet somewhere on like so. Then on that line, I'll go ahead and add let's say ½ inch on both sides, ½ inch on both sides, or you can do 1 on both sides depending on how tight you want it to be. So I'll be opening these darts that I have here. Sorry, I'm supposed to cut the center one. I would have to tape that down. Then I open this one as well. I'm not cutting it through. Now I'm connecting that 1 inch here, 1 inch here. So that's so I'll just cut out the 1 inch that. Cut it, baby. So I've moved the darts to this side. So the next thing I'm going to do is to make another dart here so that it tightens the armhole in on this line. I'll make 1/2 inch on both sides, which is a total of 1 inch. I'm going to still move this dart over to this point as well. Now, if you don't mind the gapes, you don't even have to do all these darts. After this first dart, that would be all for you. But I do not want anything gaping around on my outfit, so I would rather just move it. So I'll just close it as well. And I'll tape it down. So if you don't know how to transfer that, I have a video where I did properly on this, so you just go ahead and watch that video. So here you go. Now I'm going to reshape my armhole. So here we have it, and likewise this neckline I'll do the same. So all our dart has moved to this side. So now this will be it. I'll just go ahead and cut it out in fabric. Right? So by the time you close this dart, you have sufficient room for your bust area, you can see. So there's room for the bust area by the time I close off this dart like so. So here we go. So here we have our front, our center front and our center back. This panel will now rest, it will now sit on it like so. It's going to be on top like this. And by the time we sew this one, we sew the other side. This side is going to be on fold. I'll be cutting 2 of these, 1 for the other side. So by the time I cut all my fabric together, I'll come back to show you. Then we'll head over to the sewing, but that will be in the part 2. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, guys, and subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. And make sure you turn on post notifications so that you see the sewing of this tutorial and how it all came together. So see you in my next video, guys. Bye.